Welcome to Stars and Sprouts, a pagan parenting podcast where magic meets motherhood. I'm your host, Cawnawyn Mor, here to explore the sacred, the cyclical, and the soulful path of raising children in rhythm with the earth and stars. Now, before we dive into the rhythms of moon cycles and the spells we're going to weave into these ups and downs of parenthood, I want to begin by saying, welcome to this garden, because that is what this space is meant to be. If you've been with me for a while, you probably remember that last year I started the beginnings of this idea alongside my lovely host, Gemini, over from Witchspace. The Witchspace Podcast created their Witchspace Presents, and with the ups and downs of parenting, which if you're a listener, I'm sure you're probably already aware of or going to be aware of soon, Gemini graciously handed over the reins of this project to me, and I have waited until I was truly ready to start this endeavor, and I'm so excited to be here. If you're a fan of Gemini over from Witchspace, she will be back on here for sure. In fact, we're still going to release the episodes that we originally recorded together. There were a couple that we did that never made it, really powerful conversations about rhythms and parenting tips and ideas. And then of course, that spiritual sovereignty in the home. And that idea planted this seed within me, which now has taken root and grown into something new. And that is what I'm presenting here, which is Stars and Sprouts. This continuation of that work rooted in the same sacred soil. But this time I'm running the show over here in Seattle, Washington myself. I'm going to be really real on this podcast. I just got interrupted. My 3-year-old woke up. It is 5:30 in the morning. So no, if you're thinking I'm sitting here doing a perfect take and run through of this episode, I have already been interrupted by my 3-year-old coughing in my face. So I'm going to be really real on here because motherhood, parenthood is wild. That's kind of what this whole thing is about, promoting the wild without driving ourselves insane, right? But my idea for Stars and Sprouts is really a place where we're going to talk, of course, about the stars, because I am an astrologer, but also the stars inside our kids, the magic in those ordinary days and finding those beautiful glimmers, maybe of hope or just glimmers that the day is going to be over soon, and how we align ourselves with these greater rhythms of the cosmos as well as the rhythms of the earth. So we'll talk about the sprouting of the earth itself and through the seasons of the year, as well as these little sprouts we called kids. These ones we're raising, the hopes that we're nurturing, and maybe even those fragile dreams that we're daring to water between laundry and our sleepless nights. So this podcast is for that parent who's rocking their kid back to sleep, needing something to listen to. Or for that mom who's still devoted and lighting her candles, reading her tarot, doing her spell work, right? Not because anyone told her to, because it feels sacred and wants to know, how can I connect this practice with my role as a parent? This is for my witches out there who want to see their kids grow up knowing that the earth is alive, and so is that spirit inside of them, and to see that connection with all growing things. And I'm also hoping to talk to some industry professionals who are going to offer some resources to my parents out there, especially my mamas, because there are a lot of bodily things that we go through pre, during, and post-pregnancy that rock our world. And it's really just not talked about a whole lot. I've gone through my own healing journey with this, and I will definitely be sharing more of that on here as well. But I'm hoping to talk to some of the industry professionals that have been critical to the healing of my body as well as my spirit. So right now we are under this new moon in Cancer, conjunct Jupiter, which felt like the perfect transit to release this podcast finally around the summer solstice. And this moon is asking us to come home to ourselves, create these containers of emotional safety and sacred nourishment. It is the perfect new moon to start this podcast. And I'm so excited because Jupiter is going to be in its exaltation in Cancer for the next year. It will stay in Cancer all the way until June of 2026. So if you're new to me, Cawnawyn, hi, I am an astrologer and I will be talking about the stars, of course. I'm really excited to introduce you to my future co-host who has all of the knowledge around the earth and growing things and has a pagan practice and beautiful kids as well. So we'll be talking all things things motherhood very soon. But a little bit more about me. I am also a high priestess for the community as well as a composer. I'm not in any kind of formal coven, but I was, and then I work every day as an astrologer as well as an editor. I am a composer, a songwriter, a singer, and then of course, maybe most importantly, I am a mother. And because I am a mom, of course, you will be hearing my family behind me. So if you hear those phantom cries or screams of delight, know that that's probably my kids. Here we are all together. I would not be aspiring homeschool mother if I didn't give you guys some resources that I use. So yes, first episode, I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 of my favorite pagan parenting resources. And if you walk away from this podcast with just these 2 books in hand and decide to run with it yourself, that is awesome. And best of luck to you, blessed be. And if you want to come back and hear a real life scenario of how this is integrating within a family life, then please come on back. So the first resource I want to share with you is the book called Circle Round, Raising Children in Goddess Traditions. And this was written by Starhawk, Diane Baker, and Anne Hill. I love this book. It has all of the Sabbats in it, as well as really important, meaningful ceremonies that you can do with kids, and a lot of helpful, loving advice from really incredible leaders and elders in our community, straight to parents. And then the other book I want to share with you is Celebrating the Great Mother, a handbook of earth-honoring activities for parents and children by Kate Johnson and Maura D. Shaw. This book is amazing as well. There are so many beautiful resources in here, lots of cool crafts in here as well. And they do go through the Sabbats as well as many other important milestone moments and meaningful places in parenthood to reflect on. So these 2 books are really phenomenal. I will put, of course, links in the show notes so you can go purchase them. And let's talk about Litha for a second. What are they saying about the summer solstice? Now, quick little disclaimer, I am not Wiccan, but I do follow the Wheel of the Year. That's what we do our community rituals based around. So I will be talking about these Sabbats in a routine kind of way because this is how I mark the year with my family. If you do not resonate with these, totally understand. And I'm going to try to present these in such a way where we're recognizing these rhythms of the earth, right? So that's what I wanted to instill a respect and an awareness of in my own family and my kids, also within myself, because it makes a nice place to just check in every 6 weeks. But again, if you have a different holiday you celebrate, first of all, I'd love to hear about it. If you're inspired or you want to share with me a holiday that you guys celebrate that maybe doesn't fall within the standard 8 Sabbats of the year, please email me at cawnawynmor@gmail.com. I would love to know about it and maybe even get you on the podcast if you want to chat about it, because I am always up for learning more things. I have lots of Gemini in my chart, which you will definitely be exposed to if you stick around. My curiosity is wide open and I would love to hear. Anyway, let's go back to what they're saying about the summer solstice. Both books talk about how this is a great time to take stock of the resources that you're using, the products that are in your home. Circle Round also talks about how it's a great time to go through all of your kids' stuff through the year. You might have already done this, right? But having that awareness around like holding your children's keepsakes, because of course, with school year wrapping up, just a couple weeks ago, I'm sure this is a great time to build that awareness in and then recognize the amount of work that went into all of those projects and homework assignments. Even my preschooler, I can't believe how much he came home with this year that we get to go through. Creating these beautiful time capsules. This is something that Diane actually talks about, how she marks her children's growth. But a few days before the solstice, I'll go ahead and read this. I look over the vast amount of home and school projects my children collect through the year, select my favorites from my own archives, and then I choose some for the children to consider putting into their own time capsule. We start our celebration by opening last year's time capsules to remember what we were like then, what we were thinking, and what we wanted. After we've looked at last year's, we make new ones. I spread out art supplies, paper, and writing materials for the children to use. I begin by suggesting that the children write a letter to themselves to read a year from now. And of course, if you're like me and your kids can't write yet, you could always interview them and ask them questions and then write those things down so they can hear about it in the following year. They might write down what they accomplished, learning to blow bubblegum, or riding a two-wheeler, or making their first dive. Then the children decide what projects to include, and then everything goes into large envelopes pre-labeled with the children's names, and they're saved for our next summer solstice. So that's something, if you haven't done already, you could do right now, setting up a time capsule. I love this idea, using that sunshine as an illumination of all the growth that they've achieved over the last year. I think that's really beautiful. Since my son just had his first year at preschool, I know I'm going to be doing that for sure, some version of that. And I also want to encourage you, if you're a creative, an artist like me, you could do this for yourself too. Like, what a beautiful marker of your own successes, your own achievements. So, maybe you don't have collection of physical art that you've created, but just taking a moment to sit down and reflect on all that you've done since the last summer solstice. I don't think we give ourselves enough appreciation throughout the year for the work we've created, and it's hard to remember, frankly, all of the things that we've actually accomplished in our life and take stock of that enormous amount of effort it takes, especially if you're doing that alongside raising a family, and just giving yourself the encouragement and the celebration of that, the illumination of all that you've done. Normally I go through life just thinking, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. It's that list of things that I haven't been able to check off, right? And to be able to sit there and really soak in the pleasure of seeing, I made this, I did this, right? And be willing to share some of those successes with your kids. Let them see you relish in, I made this, I did this. And it lets them know that they can be proud of themselves too. I also really liked this other activity shared in Honoring the Great Mother. And this is one you can do all summer long. Creating these beautiful crowns for your kids. Now, maybe your kid doesn't want to wear a crown, totally understand. But another version they had was just making some version of a solar image. You could use like orange slices to create solar images. Of course, you can use crayons or wax to create beautiful rounds. They could use something that they wanted to recycle, because once again, sort of bringing that awareness, that clarity in around the use of resources. You could use clay, right? But just sitting together and making some sort of a craft that is solar in its image. And you could do this, at any point of high summer. But then also another one that it recommended was the crown, which I really liked, and boosting their self-esteem, sort of putting them in that sun spotlight and making a visual and physical connection between your child and the sun's vivid, bright energy. I'm just reading from the book here. Children need to feel a sense of their own brilliance. And one way to achieve this is having your child make and wear a special crown, so he or she becomes an embodiment of the growth-promoting and magical sun. In a culture rife with violence and negativity, encouraging your child to become one with this healthy, life-affirming image becomes a positive step for our world. And by honoring our little ones for their incredible power to grow and change and become ever more deeply themselves, we teach them to shine brightly. Oh, I just love that. So you're definitely going to hear me emphasize the importance of letting your kids shine their own individual light, because that is something as a parent I believe strongly in. So I hope that these ideas were helpful and that these resources can serve you in your parenting journey. I will tell you, for the solstice, every time we have a Sabbath, actually, I try to create an intentional feast, is what I call it, which my kids have grown to love. We eat in our formal dining room, because when do we ever eat in a formal dining room, especially with a 3 and a 2-year-old? So we make a point to eat in the formal dining room. I put up our beautiful galaxy lights and I play music, and we feast on something that just sort of reminds me of the season. We were supposed to have it outside, actually, on the deck for Litha, but we ended up just eating indoors because I live in Washington. It was raining, of course, on the summer solstice. So we sat around and we just talked about things that we wanted to shine a light on and things that we were excited to do over the summer. I usually try to ask a really simple question like, what are you excited to grow, or what are you thinking about that you're grateful for? And, again, I have a 3 and a 2-year-old, so the answers that come out are pretty entertaining, but it also gives my husband and I a nice chance to just reflect on and come up with goals for the family and things that we want to put our awareness into and just enjoy that time. And I'll tell you, it's not neat and tidy. It's not perfect at all. It is usually a mess. My 2-year-old didn't even touch his food. So again, I'm here to share all of the imperfections as well as the aspirations that I have as a mother, as a pagan parent. And I hope that you can relate to some of these and can use these resources and that they're helpful. And we're starting simple. I'm not here to throw these giant rituals at you or trying to make you, come up with your entire own homeschool curriculum, although that is something that I definitely will be sharing my process of because it's something I'm definitely interested in. But ultimately, I'm really here to grow a village because we were not meant to do this alone. So if this can touch your life in some small way that feels meaningful and inspiring, that is what I'm hoping to do, because the road we are on is one full of hard work and every day is filled with reward. I am so glad you are here listening with your precious time, because Oh my gosh, there's just never enough time. I wanted to keep this episode kind of short, but our next episode is going to be in about 3 weeks. Episodes are going to be released every Sabbath, as well as in between the Sabbaths. So every 3 weeks, you guys will be getting an episode. The Sabbath episodes will definitely be centered around the Sabbath itself. And then I want to reserve those every other episodes for things like interviews and conversations, coffee chats, that sort of thing. Hopefully lots of variety for you guys. And if you like certain episodes, you can tune in when you know they're going to come out. I hope that this space is able to nourish your roots and soften your day a little bit, and that it reminds you that we are raising kids together, that we are chasing our dreams together, we're tending this garden together, that we are unified in our human experience, and that it just takes that reminder that can connect us to something deeper. So thank you for joining me here at the very beginning of Stars and Sprouts. New episodes will bloom with the wheel every Sabbath and in between. To explore my music, my astrology, my magic, and more, please visit CawnawynMor.com. And until next time, keep growing wild, rooted, and radiant.